It is Sunday night of a huge free agent weekend in fantasy baseball. We've got it all coming up next in the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast and a special guest again, all coming up next. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined tonight by special guest Ryan Bloomfield from Baseball HQ. Ryan, there's already a Bloom in all caps in the chat room. Apparently, you're more popular than I am. I never get a Jenstad or an Oaktown in the room, so that's you're already beating me there. But how are you? Thanks for joining. I really appreciate you jumping on.
No, thank you for asking me to listen every week. So this is a thrill, man. Picked a dang good week to come on this week. Yeah. This FAAB was absolutely bonkers this weekend.
Yeah, so. It's funny because I think I reached out. I kind of gave you the choice. A couple weekends Jeff's gonna be gone. You took this one. You chose very wisely. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Well, I'm gonna ask you a few other fancy questions first before we jump into FAAB, but we'll get there. There was a lot of money spent in definitely in NFBC leagues across all leagues. Really, I mean, this is a big weekend for a lot of prospects getting called up. So. But a few things I wanted to run by quick. Before we do that, tell me where they can find you. I'm sure everybody knows where to find your work, where to find you online, what you do. But give everybody 45 seconds on what you do and where they can find you in the fantasy space.
Yeah, sure. I'm over at Baseball HQ. I write a weekly FAAB column Sunday mornings that comes out over there. I've done that for the past 3-4 years. Also on the Bubba and the Bloom podcast with my good friend Casey Bubba. We do 2 episodes a week, a Friday FAAB preview show where we go through all 30 teams, schedules, matchups, hot, cold, all that stuff to get you. Obviously, things change over the weekend and whatnot, but it just gives you something to sink your teeth into on Friday while you're getting ready for the weekend of FAAB. So Bubba and the Bloom podcast and Baseball HQ is where you can find my stuff. I guess on Twitter at RyanBHQ as well. Should throw that out there.
Beautiful. I will definitely say that the podcast is good. I try to listen to too much in season because I don't want to affect what I'm thinking or what I'm talking about. But definitely listen to you guys. I got to meet both of you in Vegas for the first time in March.
Yes, sir.
We did multiple podcasts. We never actually met in person. We kind of just missed each other at different events. But it was fun to do that. We talked a lot of golf. You're definitely the best golfer I'll have on the podcast this year. So there is that. So that's fun. It was really good to meet you, meet Bubba. That was definitely one of the highlights of my trip out there.
That was a great time. I remember too. We flagged you down in the hallway. I think coming back from the bat, we did a live kind of main event podcast.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Hey, Jenstad, get over here.
Absolutely, it was good. Yeah, there's people yelling at me, throwing things at me as we're going along. It's like one of those dugout interviews when people are throwing sunflower seeds at each other. But it was fun. So, so you mentioned your friend Bubba. He's a Giants fan. First guy I had for you to ask you about is actually a Giant. Willie Adames, off the huge free agent contract, the huge year last year with the Brewers. It's been a struggle so far, and we're far enough in the season here where, we're in I think we're previewing week 12 this week. You got a lot of stats already. Adames is hitting a $193, has 5 home runs. He had 32 last year. He has 3 stolen bases. He had 21 last year. Hit 112 RBI last year. He has 26. Like this is a mess of the first 65 games coming off. We see it a lot with guys with huge contracts. There's a fantasy manager. What do you do in a situation like this? You already took him as your starting shortstop, your starting middle, whatever it may be. Are you benching Adames? I assume you're not dropping him, but what do you do with a guy that's, it doesn't have the huge track record of being awesome? Like last year was awesome, but the year before he was 24 home runs, hit 217. What do you do with a guy like this that, off a career year, but still was pretty good? Are you benching? You sit? What are you doing here?
I mean, I especially with hitters, especially ones you take in like the first 10 rounds or whatever, that's just kind of like a ride or die situation. Yeah. I don't think there's too much. Like with pitchers, I'm a little more aggressive. You see velocity down they all get hurt or whatever. You can do that, but I don't think there's much you can do with Adames. I mean, if you can prioritize middle infield, shortstop, and try and patch your way through with FAAB, definitely not dropping Adames. Like I actually think Adames is going to be okay. I'm not like super worried. Raw power's still there. He's got like 17 barrels on 5 homers. That's fair. Plate skills look similar to previous years. Like the one thing, if I would say the one thing I'm like most concerned with is the stolen bases. Like that was the question coming in. It was 2021 steals last year for Adames. I don't think anyone expected that again, but he's only attempted 5 steals all year, and that's like the new team thing that
he never had a double digit season before that too. So that was the number that you're like, you just don't know what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So outside of that, I think you just, I even think you keep him active. You go there. It's funny. I think he had a 2-homer game like in early May and all coming off a bad April too. And everyone was like, all right, here we go. Willie Adames is going to start to turn around. Scott, he's had 1 home run since that 2-homer day on May 4th. So it's been brutal, but I don't think you can do too much about it.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, he's hit $177 since May 1st. I mean, that's a long stretch, like 5.5 weeks. It's rough, but I think you're right. I think, you're not going to find in a deeper league, you're not going to find anything to really replace him with. So you kind of, and if he hits $193 all year, like it just turns out to be a horrible pick. I think you just have to hope that, we've seen it this week with Marcus Semien. Like I've left him in. He had a really big week this week. So maybe, guys that are as talented, guys that sign big deals. Sometimes it takes a while to turn. We've seen it with Juan Soto. I mean, even for Juan Soto, the first like 6 weeks were kind of down, but it's tough. I agree with you. I think I'm just kind of slotting him in there, and maybe at the All-Star break I'll think about if he's still bad. Maybe I'll figure something out. But I think you got to ride with him too. But in a similar vein, you're gonna have the same answer for this. But I'm curious about what your thoughts on this player, Michael Harris, the second with the Braves. I know another guy that you spent a high pick on. You can't really bench, but he has 3 runs scored in 33 games since May 1st. That's almost impossible. Like he plays on the Braves, they score runs. He has 4 home runs in 63 games. Like. My concern with Harris is that we had that huge 2022 where he played 114 games. He went 19-20. And since then, he's kind of the stolen bases came down last year. The home runs have never been over 20. Do you think this guy gets overdrafted every year based on that 2022? Because it seems like we haven't really seen that ceiling get approached again.
I mean, Harris definitely does get overdrafted, but just because the results haven't been there to return the 8. I mean, this guy's like a lock for like second, third round. It's kind of like an old like Starling Marte. It was like always a lock for second and third, and sometimes got there, but a lot of times didn't. I will admit, I am pretty high on Michael Harris. I am one of those drafters that is overdrafting Michael Harris, so have him on a few teams, and it's weird. The projections always seem to like Michael Harris, but he's never been able to kind of put together that big season that you're looking for in the first 2-3 rounds. Some of that's been playing time, injuries, and that sort of thing. Never has had 550 plate appearances in a major league season before, so that doesn't help. But then we've also seen like he tantalizes you. I mean, Harris the last couple seasons really strong finishes, and then it's just when I thought I was out, he pulls me back in type of deal. So again, nothing you can really do about it. If you have Harris, you just keep going. And as Michael C points out there, Harris has never finished top 100 on the Razzball Player Rater. That is a wild stat.
It is, because that first year he was great, but I guess he probably shouldn't play enough to get quite there because he was 19-20 in 114 games. But I don't know. It's just you need the superpower to come or more steals to come, and it's kind of neither one right now. He's never hit 20 homers. Hard hit rate's down 6% this year so far. Barrel rate's down to 6%. So maybe I'm a little worried about the quality of contact. The strikeouts are down a little bit, but kind of in the same range he's always in. There's not too much different, but you look at like real baseball wise, his OBP is 266. Like, that's pretty gross for a guy that's running out there every day. I mean, his WRC plus right now is 65.
Right. And hitting down in the order, and then the Braves lineup is decent, but it hasn't been that that peak Braves run scoring lineup. So yeah, I guess add all that up and I did not realize 3 runs. Like that is like I did May 1st. I just kind of happened to search by category, and I was like, oh my God, he has 3 runs scored. With the OBP and WRC plus I mentioned, is there any chance that the Braves start to go away from Michael Harris at all? I mean, I don't know who else they would turn to. The defense is really good, so I think he's safe. Like I feel like they would have done something by now if they could. I just don't see who they would turn to. Honestly,
you're not gonna bench him to go to Eli White, who had a good run in there for a while before Acuna was back. But you're right, the defense it will keep him in center field. They don't want to play Acuna in center field. Obviously, Verdugo you don't want in center field. Obviously, as soon as they're clogging up DH, they don't really have another center field on the team. So. But he's been bad on offense, like real baseball wise, fantasy baseball wise. It sucks. I love watching him play, but it's been a rough go.
Yep. Also, wouldn't be surprised if he finishes strong again for the 3rd year. Yeah. It's just something like I don't know. And kind of going back to what we talked about with Adames and like you said with Semien, you just never know when it starts to click for these guys. So
and boy, you hate to play it for 2 months and then miss the huge week where it comes in. It's just that's painful.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So he'll have a good finish, and we'll take him in the 3rd round again. It'll be a great circle of life moment for all of us.
Yeah, can't wait. It'll be fun next year when I'm calling his name out, questioning why I did it again.
So let's go to the positive side. Someone that people ask me about a bunch. My we'll call it former A's fan, I'm A's fan, whatever you want to call it. But Jacob Wilson. A lot of people ask me about him. I think I was like, I think the hit tool's there, but I don't think the power is going to be there. I think you're going to get, I don't even know what I call it, but 6 to 8 home runs, something in there. Jacob Wilson already has 8 home runs. Granted, he's being helped by hitting in a really good park in Sacramento. But man, this guy is hitting 372 right now, Ryan. This is crazy. Like, we're deep in the season. He plays every day. He's hitting 372. Half his home runs are on the road too. So it's not been like a 7 home runs in Sacramento, 1 on the road sort of thing. But 372, I know the BABIP is really high, but man, the guy never strikes out. 6% strikeout rate. Hard hit rate's 27%. Nothing good there. But I don't know. 8 home runs, 5 steals, 36 runs, 37 RBI. This is one of the better draft picks so far this year.
It is. And I don't think we realize, like, just to emphasize again, 372. Like, I don't like that is such a help.
Yeah.
In batting average for your, I mean, you're basically carrying your team in one category there. So I don't know. I will fully admit, I admitted this the other day on Twitter. I was with you, Scott. I was wrong on the power, at least so far, what we've seen this season. I mean, the comp that everyone kind of likes to make with Jacob Wilson is Luis Arias. And I think we kind of frame it around that is like, you're going to get the good batting average because the contact is so good. Is it going to come with the power? Is it going to come with the steal? I mean, he's got 5 steals too. Jacob Wilson's never had 5 steals across the minors in a season. So that's happening as well. I'm still skeptical, and maybe I'm stubborn and going down with the ship, but like, I see a 3% barrel. I see 7 barrels all season, like more home runs than barrels. That's crazy. That's extremely rare. So I don't know. That all said, like, this could still be a 320, 330 bat. If you get 10 homers, 5 steals, and Jacob Wilson's going to surpass that. That is just a massive value. So I could sit here and keep saying I don't believe in Jacob Wilson, and meanwhile he is doing his thing. So I don't fully believe it, but you've already banked these stats, and they are really good.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I don't know. I have to look at it. It's 264 plate appearances at 372, like 246 at bats. Like, that's major. Yeah. I have to look and think about it. Is he the AL Rookie of the Year right now?
I don't see how he wouldn't be. I don't see how.
Right? I'm trying to think about who else that might be, and I think it's got to be him.
Well, once Jack Caglione, I mean, we'll talk about it. Once he goes off the second half,
right?
But no, I do think Jacob Wilson right now is that guy.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's been fun to watch. I was at his. He played. The A's played the Dodgers his first game in LA. He's an LA kid. He went to high school down here, so he had like a whole little like section that was going crazy. He had 2 bombs in that game, which is pretty wild, Dodger Stadium. But his section was going nuts. It was really fun to see. But so going back to the negative, Shane Baz. Is Shane Baz a drop right now? How do you feel about this? It's been rough. ERA is 4.96. WHIP is 1.36. Strikeout rate is down. Swinging strike rate's down. Home runs are up. It's been really rough. What do you do with someone like this? Are you benching him? Are you dropping him? How do you feel about Baz at the moment?
And it's funny, like the first start for Shane Baz this season, 6 innings, 10 Ks, no walks. You're thinking
there was a whole lot of back patting about how Shane Baz is one of the best picks in the draft after that start. It was pretty funny, and now it's been rough since.
Third start of the season, 11 Ks, no walks. So it started good, but man, things are trending badly for Shane Baz. And the biggest thing for me, Scott, is like Shane Baz has never thrown over 80 innings in a season in the pros. He's already at 65.
Yep.
And things aren't trending the way. Like, I just don't see how this like suddenly turns around once Shane Baz is kind of in uncharted territory, at least recently for him from a workload standpoint. Like just the skills are not any kind of rolling graph you look at it, it's trending the wrong way. And we're already beyond, we're getting very close to beyond anything he's done in the pros. And I don't know. I think Tampa Bay is going to treat him with kid gloves too. And I do think Shane Baz, if you've got better options starting pitching, I think he is a drop.
Yeah, it's tough because I think the theory was he probably is not going to throw many innings, but the innings I get are going to be good. Right. And now he's throwing those innings. You're like, oh, they're not very good. And now he's going to get shut down or something's going to happen at some point. It's just, it's rough. I mean, McClanahan's still a ways away. So, I don't think they have anybody that they're that worried about. And that's going to come up and take his spot. I guess Joe Boyle could do it. That'd be an interesting swap out because, Boyle's been really good in the minors. And, he's actually, I looked at Boyle today. He's 83% rostered in the NFBC main event. Like, people are really holding on to Boyle.
Is he really?
He's 30.5% strikeout rate in the minors so far in AAA this year, 54 innings, 1.5 ERA, 0.93 WHIP. It's got to be time at some point, right?
Every time at some point, I just don't see, even though the Rays are in the thick of them, I mean, the 35 and 35 games above 500, like they're in the thick of the wild card race. Even outside, look at the division. I don't think that's going to happen. But even with that, I just don't see the Rays pushing Boz 150 plus innings. Like I think I just don't see that happening. So it's just, you got to look at the rest of the season, what the skills are, which are not great, and what is that like workload going to be the rest of the way. And I either way, I don't see it.
Someone asked in a chat about Ronnie Mauricio. We will get there in a second, and we'll talk some FAAB. And he, yes, I would call him a must-add. Whoever asked that question. You mentioned the AL East. AL East is really fun at the moment. You know, Yankees have a 4.5 game lead over Tampa and Toronto. Toronto on fire. They did lose today, but 8-2 over this last stretch. But the NL West, the Giants have won 5 in a row. Dodgers and Padres there. This division is awesome. Do you have a favorite there? Are the Dodgers still like an overwhelming favorite to you? They're a game up on the Padres and Giants. They always have a ton of pitching injuries. You know, Blake Snell, who knows when he's coming back. Tony Gonsolin went on the IL this week. I know Kershaw is back, but they've had so many injuries. You know, Glass now is who knows when we're going to see him again. Sasaki's been out forever. Who knows when we'll see him again as well. Yamamoto's been great. But do you still consider the Dodgers an overwhelming favorite in the NL West? Where do you kind of fall in this division that's been 3 teams that are 10 games over 500 or better?
Yeah, great division. Fangraphs has the Dodgers at 83% to win the division. I would take the under on that. Sure. I still think the Dodgers are the favorite. I just think their lineup, and if the bullpen can stay healthy, like they can kind of get by with whatever patchwork rotation they're going to have to get by with in the second half. The thing though, Scott, is like, and I've said this for years and it gets thrown out there, but it's like that we say like the Dodgers, they can rest some of their guys for the postseason. Like we know they're going to get in. That is certainly not a slam dunk this season, especially not even just win the division, but get that bye in the first round of the playoffs. You got to finish top 2.
Getting that bye is huge now. Cause the last thing they want to do is play in that first round.
Right. So like, I think they maybe push Freddie Freeman, those guys because they're not going to. I don't see the Dodgers running away with it. Like I just can't see that happening with the rotation the way it is, unless Glass, now Snell, like you said, unless they miraculously start getting healthy. So I think it's going to be close enough that LA is going to really have to be. They're going to be testing. They're going to have to push their guys, and that's something we haven't really seen the last few years from the Dodgers.
Yeah, they had that year where the Giants had that huge year. Was that 2022 that they pushed them pretty hard? But yeah, the Dodgers have been able to kind of chill the last couple of weeks recently, and they're not going to be able to do that this year. You're right there. Yeah. Speaking of playoffs, I was just looking around today at the American League. The wild card in the American League is crazy. This is going to be a wild down the stretch. There's 6 teams. There's 3 teams that are dead tied for the top wild card spots. So they still have 3 spots, and then Cleveland's a half game back, and Seattle and Kansas City are both a game and a half back, and then Boston, Texas, and the Angels are all within 5 games. This is going to be an insane race. The trade deadline is going to be wild. There's like 3 teams that are out of it. If you think the Orioles are out of it, if you don't, maybe that's only 2 teams. But the A's and White Sox are really the only teams that are dead, and it's going to be It's going to be a crazy wild card race in the AL.
It absolutely is, and that's by design. We have all these wild cards, and I think I like it though. I think that in general, the more teams you have in it in August, September, there's more interest, and that for sure probably helps MLB. So.
Yeah, I think so too. But let's jump into a Week 12 preview. We got a week where not a lot of 7 teams playing 7 games. The only 4 that do are all in the NL Central, which is a good division right now too. The Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, and Pirates play 7. And I'm going to jump to you on this one. You mentioned your FAAB article before. It's a really good read. Anybody that doesn't read that should definitely read that. You break it down really well. And I think the thing you do well is you have like kind of a chart for 10-team leagues, 12-team leagues, 15-team leagues. I don't know if you call it exactly that, but like, I think it's pretty much built out for like thinner leagues, deeper leagues. And it's really good because you want to appeal to everybody. And your 15-team list is really good if you're playing in a deep NFBC type format. So I read it every week. One of the few things I read every single week. But you do a schedule grid where you're like who the best offensive schedules this week for streaming. So tell me who you like on offense this week. I'm gonna defer to you here. You've done the work on that grid. Who do you like on offense this week if you're looking for some streamers or nice matchups?
So I like just in general, any of the 7-game teams are obviously in NL Central, except for the Reds for the only 6-gamer. I also like to look at lefty righty stuff. So the Brewers get 6 righties, Pittsburgh gets 6 righties. So maybe like a Spencer Horwitz, you get a Nick Gonzalez. We'll probably talk about later. I was interested in him in FAAB. Just anytime you can maximize plate appearances, you're there. The previously mentioned San Francisco Giants head to Coors to face. I have to call him the pace eater. I mean, is that standard operating procedure on the RotoWire?
I think when you signed up, that's a prereq. Yeah.
Cannot call them by their actual name, so they are the pace eaters.
By the way, they swept the series this week. We should mention that
they swept the Marlins.
Yeah, so that's a sad state of affairs for the Marlins, by the way, to get swept by the Rockies.
Yeah, that Scotty Scheffler win comp is no longer.
That was such a great stat that he had more wins since like it was May 2nd or it was awesome. But they did get swept this weekend by the Mets, so they're back to being the Rockies. But Giants go there. Good stuff. And the Giants play the Dodgers. They're down here over the weekend. I think I have tickets to one of those games. I should probably look that up. But they are in Dodger Stadium Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's a fun week for the Giants. You get to go to Coors and you get to come play a huge series against the Dodgers.
Yep, absolutely. You get Detroit's one of the better 6-game weeks. They go to Baltimore. We all know about that pitching staff, that disaster, and then it's not at Great American Small Park, but they host Cincinnati. So nice schedule there for the Tigers. Rays as well, but they're all on the road. Athletics are all on the road as well. So while it's a pretty easy schedule for them at the Angels and at the Royals, with missing some of their big guns except for Bubic. That home away for the A's is huge.
The crazy thing about Chris Bubic is his April, we're like, oh, this guy's pitching really well. We'll see what happens next. He's been better since May 1st. His ERA is best in baseball since May 1st among qualified starters. I think it's 0.63 or something like that. He's been the best ERA pitcher in baseball the last 6 weeks.
At an ADP of, I want to say off the top of my head, outside the top 200 at least.
You can't get sniped in the 21st round, but I felt like I did that day when I saw you in the main event. I was about to take him, and I kind of put my spreadsheet down because I'm like, nobody's gonna take this guy right now. And the guy right in front of me took him, Greg Martin, really good player. And I was like, I was like, are you kidding me? You're gonna snipe me now? This is brutal. But
that's your good main too, right? Is that the Corbin Burns main?
We're gonna talk about that main in a second here, but it's used to be my good main. But it was having Chris Bubic in the 20th, 21st, 22nd round would be really nice right now. That's we talked about Jacob Wilson being a huge pick. I mean, Chris Bubic has been as good a pick as you can get on a pitching staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, hard to go wrong there. But I like Atlanta as well. They're three at Milwaukee, then they get Colorado at home, which you love to face Colorado pitching, so that works well. You mentioned the 7-game teams. I think my favorite one is the Cubs. They're 3 at Philly. Philly's struggling badly right now. I think they're one win in their last 10 games. Then they get 4 against Pittsburgh. I'll have to see if they probably do get Skeens because he pitched yesterday. Yeah, they do get Skeens, but then they get Heaney, Burrows, and Keller. So I like the Cubs schedule as well. And then the Angels get 3 against the A's. We know the A's pitching staff is up there with Baltimore for how bad they are, especially lately. And they get 3 at Baltimore. So they get the A's in Baltimore. Really good setup for the Angels this week. Who weirdly have some fun hitters. Taylor Ward's smashing right now.
Yes, he is. Ever since you guys, that was the ultimate RotoWire jinx. I remember you guys talked about the lowest OBP in all of baseball, Taylor Ward, after a few weeks into the season. Yeah, he has absolutely gone off since then.
His OBP is still 263.
I did not. Wow.
I didn't either until you made fun of me for that, and I looked at him like it's still 263.
No way.
He has 17 bombs. He's still at 211.
I would have
lost that bet, by the way.
Yeah, as would I. I would be paying for beer right now if that was paid. So wow.
15% barrel rate though, 46% hard hit rate. Somebody mentioned the chat. Joe Adell's been hot too. Scott Burks mentioned that. Joe Adell has been hot. He had I think he had 4 homers this week. He had a steal or 2. Joe Adell's streaky, and I like Joe Adell. I thought it was going to come around. Every time I looked at his underlying stats, I figured I was going to drop him or pick him up in places because he has been dropped in many leagues. I held on. The barrel rate's 13.5%. The strikeout rate's actually down. It's 23.5%. For Joe Adell, I mean, we talk about high 30s with Joe Adell being the big problem. 47% hard hit. I think it's going to come at some point. The BABIP's 235, which is a big problem, but he only has 2 steals, which is an issue. But 11 home runs already. I still think the Joe Adell hot streak is coming.
It probably is coming. The flip side can also happen with Joe Adell. We've seen that. The big thing that I like with Joe Adell, you mentioned the 2 steals. That is one area of concern. Really, the Angels are, as a team outside of Zach Neto, the Angels who ran wild last season, they are not running at all. So Joe Adell has 2 steals. Luis Rengifo, who has just been bad anyway, but he's not running, just to kind of further dig that in the grave. The Angels have gone stagnant on the base paths for whatever reason. Same manager, same everything, but they're not running this year.
You're not counting Mike Trout's 2?
That's for Trout. That's not bad.
Yeah, not bad. would have taken that for the first 2 months for sure. But
Yeah.
let's hit a few news and notes before we jump into a full FAAB discussion. You mentioned Corbin Burns. Obviously, that was the big news over the weekend on Friday. I'm having Tommy John surgery. You mentioned my good main event. That team is top 40 overall. Number 1 pitcher Corbin Burns, number 2 Pablo Lopez. So I lost my 2 top starting pitchers this week. I'm going to try and grind this out, Ryan, but I don't know if I can come back from that. That might be a death knell on this team pretty badly.
So like how do you like how I don't know, how do you feel about that team? Because I mean you are over a third of the way through the season. You're top 50. Like competitive still.
I loved that team a week ago.
Yeah.
Thought it had a chance to actually make a run at something pretty awesome. And it's kind of well balanced too. It's like, even if you have a good team, if like you have a hole in steals or saves, you're like, this can be tough. Could probably use another half closer maybe. I have Helsley, who's obviously really good, but I have Kenley Jansen, who I'm worried about. Although he's really good this week, but I was really worried before this week. So maybe a closer, but now, man, I don't know. I've got some. I got some good pitchers like in the backing them up, but those are guys you need to like be back up. You need your 2 aces to at least be decent, and that's the thing. And Lopez and Burns have both been pretty good too. It's not like they were struggling, and it's just I don't know if you can recover from that. It'll be an interesting experiment to see if I can find a way around it, but it's going to be really tough to hang in there. There's another team in the top 20. Mike Masato's team is actually top 20 in that league. We've been battling first and second place. I don't know if I can compete with this team at this point.
I'm sure Mike has let you know he's top 20 too. I would imagine.
Mike has not been quiet about letting me know that he's top 20. Although when I passed him and he was still top 20, I'm like, you know what? That doesn't matter when I'm beating in the league. So, but Mike reaches out there. It's been fun being in the same league as him. But a few other quick notes. Bryce Harper was kind of the biggest star that went on the IL this weekend. 10-day IL with wrist inflammation. Ryan, this seems pretty minor. It seems like they just he kind of needed a quick break here. They didn't want to keep him out for 5 days, but you always worry about a wrist with a hitter.
You worry about a wrist with a hitter, and in Harper's case, you worry about this is kind of like a re-aggravation of basically the same wrist this past fall. And I think I read somewhere, I forget exactly where, that Harper was he's probably playing it slow because it's the off season, but basically didn't do much for 2 months. Yeah. Like October through December because of the wrist. And I mean, no real reason to push it at that point, but that's my only one thing of I hope that's all this is just kind of a rest and get right, because that would be pretty brutal. So nothing you can really do. You're obviously holding Bryce Harper. You just hope it's not re-aggravating, and then that the wrist when Harper comes back, you always worry, right, about lack of power when he comes back. But again, not much you can do. Keep him benched until he's back, and there you go.
Yeah, a couple of pitchers. We mentioned Tony Gonsolin went on the IL with right elbow discomfort. His test came back clear, but that's obviously something that's going to be not short term. Anytime you get any kind of right elbow, anything, especially with the Dodgers, they're going to play that safe. Zebby Matthews also frustrating. He just got called up. He was just kind of getting a rotation spot with the twin injuries. 15-day IL. I was got the IL with a right shoulder strain. Obviously, doesn't sound good either. I assume you consider Zebby and Tony Gonsolin pretty easy drops, yeah.
I think so. Zebby's always that double-edged sword of we saw the higher velocity this spring, and it's like, oh, that's great, and then is it? So yeah, that's tough.
Somewhere Ryan Weathers is raising his hand.
Oh,
did you see how he got hurt? By the way,
nailed in the dome
by his own catcher
on a throwdown by his own catcher.
But throwdown between innings, not even trying to catch. It was so ridiculous. Only the Marlins right there.
It was but it was concerning because we talked about Weathers with the injuries, because not only obviously now we know he left the game a head injury, but he was I didn't watch the game, but Weathers was shaking his arm, the velocity was down, and everyone thought, oh, this is an arm injury, but no, my guy was out there. Maybe not all there. That was brutal. The replay was just nuts.
Yeah, he got. They usually see those and they're really close. He got smoked.
No, he got smoked.
It was bad. Yeah. Obviously, it seems like he's okay. The only reason I joke about it is they've tested him and he seems like he's going to be okay. Yep. But still, that's a tough way to get banged up. A couple of real quick notes. Julio Rodriguez. There was a little bit of scare last night, but X-rays on his ankles came back clean. So he's good to go there. Jung-Hoo Lee, speaking of the Giants earlier, missed the weekend with back tightness. So definitely check lineups. The Giants do not play tomorrow. They play at Colorado on Tuesday. That's a tough one. You got to hope you have a spot you can wait till Tuesday, because obviously if Lee's good to go, you want that core series for sure.
Yep, you want that core series. The Julio injury was also a friendly fire situation. Randy Rosarena
I didn't see that one. Oh, was it? Oh,
batted ball. Randy Rosarena nailed him in the ankle. Julio was going from second to third. So
nice.
Thanks, Randy. Yeah,
no doubt. Jorge Soler getting some additional testing on his groin. I feel like that is probably going to be pretty much a sit there. They are at their home for 3 against the A's, but so they play tomorrow, so at least you get some news there. Kyle Stowers, who's had a pretty nice start to this season, missed the last 4 games with a sore hand. I feel like this we'll have a fulcrum point here on Monday. Either he's going to have to play or probably go on the IL.
Yep. At a certain point, you take the 10, get the extra roster spot.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm leaning benching Stowers unless obviously he's in the lineup. So we'll see.
Yeah. Just a couple of good notes. Jordan Westberg appeal set for a return on Tuesday for the Orioles. Be big to get him back. They play Detroit and LA all in Camden Yards this week. And then Cedric Mullins also with Baltimore expected to return this week coming up as well. So the Orioles are getting some reinforcements here as they try to hang on to not be buried in the division here. But so some good news there. Also, Shota Imanaga expected to make his first rehab started Tuesday. So a little bit of a path back for Shota. Probably looking at another 3 weeks or so before you get him back in the lineup. At least getting some progress there.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, the Orioles need all the help they can get.
They really, really, really do. Although if Westbrook or Mullins could pitch, that might be a little more beneficial.
That's what I was going to add. We need the and I was in this boat with you, Scott. I remember this. We need the 2021 version of Trevor Rogers to get back on that team. And
Brian, that's where we're going tonight. Is Trevor Rogers baiting? Oh man, I thought he was going to be.
I'm
so
just
good.
throwing it. Hey, I was in that same boat with you, so it was shared commiseration. But I figured I'd bring up that ghost of seasons past.
Such a good question to chat here. Do you think that you think Jackson Holliday keeps leading off as Baltimore gets these guys back? I don't think. I mean, Mullins has kind of been moving around the lineup a little bit. He let off a little bit early, and then he was moved around a little bit. Westbrook, I think Holliday's probably done enough to stick there for a little bit. Don't you think?
He's done enough to stick there. Like the things have ticked up for Jackson Holliday. Obviously, I think feeling pretty comfortable in the role. The OBP is not great. It's like 317 this year, but anything to get Jackson Holliday going, I don't think the Orioles will want to screw with that. So that's a really good point. And that could lead to a bunch of extra plate appearances for Jackson Holliday over an entire season.
Mullins did not lead off his last 15 games before the injury. He hit 5th once, and everything else was 6th, 7th, or 8th. He let off a lot up until about the middle of May, and then he didn't again after that. So my guess would be he slides in the bottom half of the lineup.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's talk some FAAB. You mentioned before you picked a good week to come in and chat with me. This is a big week of prospects getting called up. We talked, Paul and I talked last week about Jack Caglianone. I can't say Caglianone getting called up. Obviously, a huge prospect, big pedigree out of Florida last year. We all saw him hitting bombs in playing college and into the college playoffs. He struggled up until today, and just to make it a little more tough on us all. Jack Kaggs was 4 for 4 today. He had 4 hits. He had a line drive up the middle that almost killed the pitcher. It was smoked. You mentioned before we were chatting offline. He's hitting the ball hard. It was one of those things. It didn't look like he was not making hard contact, just kind of hitting into some tough outs. How do you feel about Kaggs moving forward? How heavy were you on bidding? He was obviously very, very popular in bids, and I'll tell you how popular here in a second. But how do you feel about him going forward, and how aggressive were you in this ad?
I feel pretty good about Jack Kaggs, and that for me, I'm really I get on our podcast, I get destroyed for always liking the old guys and being boring and that sort of thing. But this is one where I was like, I'm very interested. I made the comp on our Bubba and the Bloom podcast when we were previewing on Friday. I made the Nick Kurtz comp, but without the Nick Kurtz strikeout rate. I think the power is basically the same.
That's a pretty sexy player, by the way. If you're gonna have Nick Kurtz power and not gonna strike out for as much.
Right. But that's at least what I'm seeing, at least in the play skills and that sort of thing from Caglianone. And I was rooting for him to not do well again today because it was 2 for 21, I think, entering today, but was still just mashing the ball. Caglianone has hit 9 balls over 100 miles an hour so far.
And he's been up a week. He's played 6 games. I mean, it's just,
exactly.
That says a lot right there.
9 over 100 and only 4 strike. That's the other thing. Only 4 strikeouts and 25 plate appearances so far. Not whiffing a lot. I just think the combination of plate skills, elite power, and probably most importantly, I think the playing time's super safe. The Royals outfield is just horrendous. I think Caglianone has a long leash.
And I think it was pretty clear that they were going to wait to call him up until he was going to play every day. And then once they did, they were just called. He was here to stay. He was added. He was actually held and drafted in some main events, but he was picked up in 35 of them tonight. The high bid was 414. The low bid was 157. So nothing and there were only 2 bids in the hundreds. So everything was between if you look at the middle, it's kind of like 260, 270, 280 was a pretty good range right there. Someone will do the average bid. Average win will probably be about 260, 270, somewhere in there. I went 343 in one league and got outbid by the second highest winner at 413, which was this one. I had a lot of money. I needed offense badly. My other main event, the Vegas one we talked about, I kind of pulled back a little bit because I figured I need to save money for pitching as we go along here. I'm going to need pitching, and I pulled back. I would have won him, so I have some remorse about pulling the bid back, but I probably would be in trouble if I didn't have enough money for some pitching. So he went for it was one of the lower bids, like 230 something in that bun. But where were you in leagues you were bidding on? Were you pretty aggressive with him or not?
I was aggressive, but not aggressive enough. I was pretty much in like the mid 200s on Caglione and got shut out, at least in all the 7 o'clock FAABs. And then just now I found out I did get him in WRF, not Scarf, but WRF.
What is WRF?
WRF is the Pacific Northwest version of these.
How do you get the W then?
W is west. It's Western Expanse. We're spread out up here.
Western Expanse. I was trying to get where I was like with the W, Western Washington, but where's the E come in? I got you. All right.
Western, it's like, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, whatever. But that FAAB runs at 9, so I just said screw it. I got Caglione for 300. Generally my thought process with Caglione, since I do think he is worth it, it was more of an exercise of like, how much money am I comfortable with having if I get Caglione?
And obviously, you want it to be on a team where maybe power always helps, but if you're like super power heavy, you need steals. Maybe you don't go as deep. Mine was I have pretty good offense. I need pitching, so I don't. It'll be interesting if he goes off. I'll feel really bad about pulling back. If he's just good, I'll feel like I need that money for pitching. In the 12 team, the RotoWire Online Championship, it was obviously there's always a bigger range there because there's so many more leagues. But he went for 570 to league there. There was the 3 bids in the 500s. Even in that contest, there are only about 10 leagues went for under 100. So there were a few he went cheap there, but he's got obviously clearly one of the bigger ads this year, and it's going to be a fun one. I did get him in the online championship for like the low 200, so at least I got a piece somewhere.
Excellent. Yep. Yeah. And I think it'll be worth it, but we will obviously see.
Yeah, so it should be fun. He's one of the more fun big power prospects we've had here in a while, so that'll be a good time. But I'm curious your thoughts on the second guy on my list here, Ronnie Mauricio with the Mets. Got called up. You mentioned had a stolen base today. This is a huge big time prospect. He's coming back off an injury, so we don't fully know how that's going to go. We also don't know how the Mets are going to use him. Mark Vientos in the IL now. When he comes back, what happens? McNeil's already playing. Brett Beatty's playing pretty well right now. How'd you feel about Mauricio in terms of playing time, skills? What do you think he's going to do? And do you think he's kind of up to stay at the moment?
Yeah, I was definitely lower on Mauricio than Caglione. I think that's obvious now. But I think for me, it's the playing time outlook. I just don't know when Vientos comes back what that looks like, because I don't think the Vientos injury, it's pretty light hamstring strain. Like I don't think he's going to be out too long. Granted, Vientos hasn't been hot, but I don't know, especially compared to Caglione, I don't know about the playing time leash. I don't know. Mauricio has a lot more tools. I mean, we saw the 2 steals already, has a home run. So we unlike Caglione, at least until today, Mauricio was, showing results in the majors. So that helps. But for me, I pulled back a little bit, still got some Mauricio, and I was mostly in like the 60 to 80 range.
Okay.
Depending on if I needed, middle infield, whatever. But that's kind of where I was at. I don't know. And I don't know about the long layoff. The plate skills aren't Caglione-esque. I can see second time through or whatever. Once the kind of the book comes out on Mauricio, I could see those plate skills kind of sneaking up on him. So between that and the playing time uncertainty, it was a little bit lower, but still going after, what I can, because middle infield, and especially you might get corner at some point. So, that is awfully useful when we're picking through 15-team FAAB and there's not many infielders.
For sure. And you mentioned the toolsiness. I mean, 23 home runs, 24 steals in 2023 in AAA, 26-20 in 2022 in AA. Then he obviously had the injury. He's been out for a bit. But yeah, I think he's this is like the upside downside kind of. I mean, I think Caglione's floor is definitely much better than Mauricio in terms of playing time and in terms of skills. But Mauricio's got a 17% barrel rate through 4 games. So we're good to go there. But I joke, but 48% hard hit rate in AAA. So he's hitting the ball hard. But I think you're right. I think that I just don't know how often he plays. I was kind of in the 60 to 80 range as well. Got him in one spot in one main event. But his average bid's probably going to end up being like 130 to 140. So I was a little bit lower on him. Still got him in a spot. But he was definitely popular. He was below Caglione, but not a huge amount below.
It was an average of 122 in the mains. Average runner-up for Mauricio was 89. So, it was pretty competitive stuff for Mauricio. And again, if he starts, if he keeps playing like this, we have no idea. But the Mets will have to play him. But you're kind of banking on that happening. So we'll see.
I don't think it's a guarantee that when Viento's back, he just walks back into his slot, hitting fifth and starting every day.
Correct.
I think his job is very much in jeopardy right now. See what happens these couple of weeks with Mauricio and with Brett Beatty.
Yep, agreed. And that's why I was a little bit off. So
and Jeff McNeil had 2 bombs today. Hit another hit a third ball off the wall. I thought he hit it when I was watching. I happened to have that game on. I was watching the Mets because I had Tyler McGill pitcher today, so I was trying to get him through 5 in Coors Field. But he got there. It was a little sketchy. He had no runs through 4. I'm like, all right, we're good. They're up 8-0, and then had to battle for the 5th a little bit. I thought we were going to get a nasty Zambrano out of McGill. He's going to go 4 2/3, but we avoided that. But McNeil had 2 bombs. Hit that. I thought he had a 3rd bomb when he hit it. I was like, oh, this is crazy. But 3 runs, 4 guys. McNeil had a huge day today.
Yep. And not many of those lately for him.
No. Then another pretty big prospect called I felt like it was a little more surprising. The White Sox called up their stud catching prospect, Kyle Teel, 14th overall pick in 2023 by the Red Sox. He came over in the Garrett Crochet deal, right? Yeah, he did.
Yep.
So he got called up, and this is someone that has catcher eligibility and runs, Ryan. He had 12 stolen bases last year. He got 7 already this year in 50 games in AAA for the White Sox affiliate there. Hit 295, a 394 OBP, 490 slug. Strikeouts are a little high, but he does walk a lot, which, if you're going to get a guy who you want some steals, he's got 40% walk rate in AAA so far this year, and his walk rates in the minors have always been double digits. Obviously, anytime anyone gets catcher eligibility gets called up, we get pretty excited. We saw with Augustin Ramirez, a lot of high bids there. What do you feel about Teel? They do have Cuero also there, but do you think the playing time's there? You think he can DH? I assume the White Sox called him up to play, right?
You would assume, but insert White Sox joke here, but you would assume so.
Yep.
The big thing that I was in on Teel for was he started each of the 3 games this weekend. Yep. And so I was a little bit, with Edgar Cara there. I was like, well, how's that going to work? It seems like they're just going to kind of alternate catcher DH. And if you get those golden DH at those non-catching plate appearances without having to catch, especially for a young guy, for Kyle Teel, that's a big transition to not only try and hit major league pitching, but also handle again, insert White Sox joke here. Major league.
I was going to say, be careful. Yeah, major league pitching staff. I don't know.
Yeah. But no. So where I stood on Teel was if I was satisfied with both of my catchers, I wasn't going to make a move. I had leagues where I've Keibert Ruiz and obviously the Contreras. But if I was happy with my 2 catchers, I was good. I did get Teel.
You know how many home runs Keibert Ruiz has since May 1st?
0.
0.
0 since April 1st, I believe.
He has a home run. Were they March?
I think both of his homers were in March.
That's amazing.
I could be wrong, but that's been a long.
That's even better. I love that. We had a joke. Someone asked me about Keibert Ruiz in the preseason. I said I don't draft Punch and Judy catchers or something like that. So we've been calling him Punchy for all this years. But you're right. His home runs. He had 2 home runs the first 2 games of the season, and after that happened, people were making fun of me because oh look at your guy can't hit his name power. Yeah, you're right. 0 home runs since April 1st. Good call there.
Unreal. So so maybe I should have picked up Kyle Teel first.
I was that's why I pointed that out, because it's a tough one, because I was looking at guys like Bo Naylor, and I'm like, oh, Bo Naylor homered today, but again, he has some bad at bats, and you feel like he's coming out of something. Every time I look up, he's hitting $185. I'm like, what am I doing here? But I didn't know what to do there. So I was like, and I have Dylan Dingler, who I really like in Detroit. He strikes out a lot. You got to figure that average is coming down at some point. The average is pretty lucky right now, because how much he strikes out. So I was in on Teel, but I was kind of in your spot where I'm not dead at catcher too, so maybe I don't need to go that much money, and I missed out as a result.
Right, because if you have Dingler and maybe Kyle Teel, we don't know, that range of outcomes is pretty wild, but maybe Teal's slightly better, but is it worth $50, $60 or whatever?
Exactly, whatever it is in FAAB, right?
in FAAB. So I mean, I got Teel and Tout Wars where I had like Danny Jansen, and I was eager to get Danny Jansen. I actually asked myself, why do I still have Danny Jansen on my team?
I asked that Bo Naylor question every single week because I'm doing FAAB. I'm like, why? And every week I'm still with Bo Naylor. I think maybe he homers on Sundays a lot. I have no idea, but it's rough. It's kind of the same thing. It's like you just kind of see a name and you're like, oh, catcher, I don't need another one, and maybe I do.
Yep.
Teel had a wide range of bids, though. He was the one that we talked about the other guys. And there's kind of everything's kind of you have some extremes on the end, but everything's kind of built in the middle. Teel had a high of $254 and a low of $1 in the main event. And it's $1 no backup. There's a $5 no backup, but then there were 2 bids over 200, and there's probably 10 or 12 bids over 100, but the average is probably going to be in the 40 to 60 range, somewhere in there. He was really popular. He got picked up in almost every main event league. Got picked up in 56 leagues. There's 57 leagues. I think he probably was not owned, so he probably didn't get picked up in one. But he was really, really popular, and it's just that thing. That's a catcher who runs and has a pretty high pedigree. You can see that people, you're starting 24 or 30 catchers in a league like that. There's obviously someone that's going to want Teel over who they have as a second catcher.
Exactly.
Yeah. And many of these other young guys, before we get into some of the other guys, Jacob Melton in Houston, Otto Kemp, anybody else, these kind of secondary, tertiary prospects that got called up this week that you were interested in at all? I
was in on and got some Jacob Melton. I like it
too.
Were you? Okay, good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better. It's a 6 right-handed week for Houston, so they get all righties this week, so that's going to help. I do think Jacob Melton's probably on a strong side of a platoon, but like I think you and Jeff have mentioned before, like Houston just does not have left-handed bats. Like I think Jacob Melton's playing time is pretty safe against right-handed pitching. I think he's going to run. Already got a steal. I actually showed some pop in AAA, small sample, but hit a few barrels in AAA there too. So I was pretty in on Jacob Melton. Glad to hear you were too.
I was. I looked at last year, 2024 in the minors, 105 games. He was 15-30. I mean, that he had 46. Yep. He was 23-46 in 2023. Like, this is like, from a fantasy line, I get he strikes out too much, and that's probably going to really spike in the majors. Which is the one issue. I think the batting average floor is pretty low here. You got the Oregon Cup. No Virginia Tech Cup? What's going on over there?
I haven't been to Virginia. I got the Virginia Tech poster behind me, so I've got all kinds. I've got Virginia Tech behind me. I went to Arizona for grad school, and I've got an Oregon Cup because I live
there. You
here.
go.
I don't know, man. Whatever.
Yeah, that's 3 different conferences. So you're so fine. You got an ACC, a Big 12, and a Big 10 now. I don't even know if conference anybody plays anymore, but
yeah.
I was watching the UCLA Super Regional Baseball game today, and it still trips me out every time I look at the field and says Big 10 behind home plate. I'm like, I just don't know.
Well, Oregon State, I was just watching. They were crushing Florida State. They still have Pac-12, and there's.
Do they? I didn't know if they went like full no affiliate. Or they? I guess them and Wazoo are the 2 Pac-12 teams, right?
Yeah. It's wild. It's bad. But
yeah. So what about some of these other guys that are still lingering out there? Parker Meadows, I mentioned. Look at the sheet here. He's 62% in the main event. Christian Encarnacion Strand is still only about half owned in the 12 teamers. How do you feel about these two guys? I think these guys they're stud prospects coming up. We thought big things for them. Has not worked out great, whether it be injuries or a little bit of underperformance from both guys. How do you feel about these two guys in terms of adding them, kind of looking at playing them the rest of the season here?
Encarnacion Strand is super popular among a bunch of smart people out there, and you just never know. Home run this weekend, like you never know when it's going to pop off. So I Encarnacion Strand wasn't available in any of the leagues that I was in, so wasn't able to get him anywhere. But I like that, and Parker Meadows I think could be an absolute stud going forward. The FAAB was
really
pricey.
Like that as an ad.
Yeah, it was pricey. He went for. Meadows went for 4 and up to 490 in one league, min of 63. So on average,
that's high. Yeah.
Yeah. Meadows was on average 148 with a runner up of 89. So you had to pay up for Parker Meadows. I just think if he can stay healthy, I think he's leading off at least against right-handed pitching and can be really good. So I like both those guys. They just weren't available in leagues I was in.
Yeah. And the Meadows bidding this week was leagues where he wasn't drafted because the injury news came out like kind of late in the main event season and he wasn't drafted. So he wasn't available last week because he just came up this week and started playing. So a lot of those there. What about some of these other fringe guys? You mentioned earlier, you mentioned Nick Gonzalez if you need a middle infielder. What about you like David Fry at all with the catcher eligibility and starting to play a little more? Who else did you like here? Ryan Ritter in Colorado's got called up. He's playing shortstop for Ezekiel Tovar. Anybody else in kind of this mid range of guys? After this top tier of the guys we're talking about that you really like this week?
I liked at least, so I'm Nick Gonzalez. I went after him. I liked him a lot preseason, hit a home run, I think on opening day, and then got hurt. So I think Nick Gonzalez can be actually a pretty useful middle infield option in certainly in 15 teamers. I was in on Ramon Laureano, at least in the short term. I don't know what happens when like Tyler O'Neill comes back, but
that'll last about 48 hours anyway. So
exactly. We've seen that play out, but like Ramon Laureano could play most days, and Mullen's coming back soon, so we'll see, but could play most days and is hitting like cleanup sometimes in Baltimore. So I like that. I was also in on the other Max Muncy, the younger Max Muncy, the A's Max Muncy, who I think quietly was like crushing AAA. Is 12% barrel rate AAA, 23% strikeout. It homered this weekend. I thought Max Muncy was a sneaky infield ad. You just never know with prospects second, third time up when it finally clicks. And so I was interested in Muncy, even though the A's were will be on the road all week.
And the A's are fully grasping at straws right now. They're trying to play anything that works. They've cleaned house. They didn't do it. They lost whatever it was, 16 of 18. They had a horrible stretch there. Sent out Blade. He came back, but you can just tell that they're going to give a lot of these young guys. It's weird. You turn to games. They're actually playing guys I have to look up. I have no like Logan Davis, that CJ Alexander were playing. I'm like, I need to figure out who these guys are.
And the MacGyver. They're literally MacGyvering their lineup right now.
Yeah. Shea Langolier is one in the IL. So Willie MacGyver is their starting catcher right now. It's rough. Johnny Paredes backing up. It's rough. The top like 5 of that lineup's still pretty good, but man, the back half, we saw them scoring a lot of runs early. The back half of the lineup's pretty rough right now.
Yeah. You mentioned David Fry. I was kind of in on him. He's DH only, I believe, for now. Like not eligibility wise, catcher only, but he's only going to DH as he gets back from.
That's right. He actually can't throw and play the field.
Like can't throw. The interesting thing with David Fry is like kind of in a platoon with Kyle Manzardo, who is basically not playing against lefties lately and going forward. I think Cleveland gets 3 lefties to start this week as well. So if you have Kyle Manzardo in any leagues, at least for this first half week in NFBC formats, you may want to look elsewhere.
That's a good call right there. You've got to look at this, especially in NFBC. You got to look at those half weeks. I have a couple of guys that tend to sit a little bit like someone like William Abreu, who's been really good, but still sits against lefties. Like this weekend, the Yankees, they had 2 lefties. It's tough. You can't. It sucks when you can't play a guy like that. But if he's gonna play 1 out of 3 games, or even like 1.5, you just can't play guys like that. It's tough. But you have to really look at each series in particular, especially with those lefties, and make sure you get those guys out.
Yeah. Yep.
Since you mentioned Max Muncy, the Dodgers Max Muncy, since May 1st, his stats are wild: 263, 8 homers, 30 RBI, and a 17% strikeout rate. It's like a complete different human since he got his eyes checked out. It's crazy.
I guess that's that's not an arbitrary kind of point in time. Something did actually change with Max Muncy. So, I mean, obviously he's not going to stay this hot, but there is something to be said to be able to see the baseball. So that helps.
Yeah, I imagine that's it's tough to do without seeing. Couple other like vet guys here. Abraham Toro's been playing a lot for the Red Sox, playing pretty well. I feel like we've done the Abraham Toro road many times in FAAB, and it never really has worked out. It has never worked out well. But he's at 325 so far. He's got 3 bombs already. But you look at his other stuff. He doesn't strike out a lot, so maybe that batting average floor is okay. But I mean, it's tough. You got a guy that really doesn't steal and doesn't hit home runs. It's hard to live with that in a corner infield spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to try and ole Abraham Toro there. So
well done, Jeff.
Hey, Erickson, I gotta try and at least do Erickson proud.
Jeff is in Spain right now, I believe. Yeah. He texted me yesterday. It was my birthday yesterday, so he texted me. But I think he's in Spain. He's probably gonna still hear that joke somewhere. He's gonna love that. Let's talk about some pitching. Again, we've kind of reiterated a bunch how hard it is to find pitching, especially in 15-teamers. Been a couple of weeks in here. We found some good guys, but I'm curious who you like this week. I had a bunch of guys that I kind of was interested in, but nobody has really fired up about. Is there anybody you really liked in FAAB this week pitching-wise? Is there anybody like you wanted to go after it all?
I mean, not in terms of like anybody over $40-$50. And unfortunately, that's been kind of a common theme. Especially in 15 teamers, it's just starting pitching has been brutal. David Festa was my kind of top starting pitcher ad, even though he did get destroyed this past week. I think it was 8 earned runs.
That was a rough outing, and probably way brought down his price. But the rotation is wide open. We were frustrated for a while with no Festa, no Zebby. The road is wide open right now. You got Pablo out. Obviously, Zebby's out. I mean, it's a mess. The road is there for Festa. I just don't know if he can ever get past 5 innings? Are they going to let him pitch at all? Like, you got to think at some point they're going to have to throw starters in the third time through to not murder their bullpen. But I don't know. We haven't seen Festa go deep into games, and the talent's there, but it's hard to pitch guys in fantasy if he's not going to pitch 5 innings.
That's the thing. That is it's hard to get wins, even if you go 5 and leave with a lead. Like, and I know the Twins bullpen is pretty good, but it's hard to hold a lead like that for four innings. But so I was still in on Festa though, like $30-$40 range. Gets Texas this week. I always like that. That's not really a tough lineup. So I was in on Festa, and I agree with you. I think if Festa came out and shoved, that FAAB price would have been.
Yeah. We had some low triple digits on Festa if he pitched really well this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, you're right. In Texas, Corey Seager especially has been really struggling. He was 0 for 18 this week with no runs and no RBI. That's I always look at my team stats and doing FAAB. Like, is there anybody I'm missing here that's really bad that I need to think about dropping? Obviously, I'm not dropping Seager, but I saw that the 18, then a bunch of zeros after it, like the Tony Snell basketball lane is never anything you want to see for a whole week.
The 30 minutes, 0 points, 0 nothing. What do you do here?
I don't know how you're 6'6", you don't get one rebound in 30 minutes. Like, it seems impossible. Like, the ball accidentally bounces to you at some point.
I had a hard time figuring out what to do with Bryce Elder this week, Scott. Like, that is the most random gem I think I've seen this season. 12 Ks, no walks for Bryce Elder, and he gets Road Rockies this week. That's the other
thing, right? Yeah, I looked at him like, who's he face week? I'm like, oh, Colorado at home. Like, yeah, you got to be in on that. But he's been pretty good lately, though. Like, he hasn't got more than 3 runs since April 11th, and he's gone 5 or more innings in every start except for his opening start of the year against the Dodgers when he only pitched 4 innings. But he's gone 5. You mentioned the start this week, 8 innings against the Giants, 3 hits, 1 earned run, just gave a solo homer, 12 strikeouts, no walks. Like, he's been weirdly serviceable for like a month and a half here, but he's still, for some reason, scares the crap out of me.
But that's the thing too, though. Like, especially in these 15-teamers, you cannot wait for 2 or 3 good starts in a row because he's gone. I mean, Bryce Elder went on average for $39, back up 22 this week in Maine's. Like, you even had to pay up to get Bryce Elder, and again, that's kind of the state of free agency in 15-teamers this year. Really, the last few years, you just can't wait. You kind of have to jump and hope something has changed there.
Yeah, I was definitely in on that just because the Road Rockies, you figure even if he's not totally on, that's a pretty good setup. But I want you to talk to me about Sawyer Gibson Long in Detroit. He was the most added in terms of leagues added for pitchers week. He was added in 55 of 57 main event leagues this week. A high of 80 all the way down. There were some bids in the single digits. But how do you feel about this one? There was a lot of chat. I mean, he pitches twice this week, which obviously helps. He's at Baltimore and then home against Cincinnati. Talk to me about Sawyer Gibson Long. Were you in on this, and how do you feel about these ads this week?
I wasn't really in on Gibson Long. Like, even in the minors, like his last full season, 2023 in the minors, it was like a 24% K rate across AA and AAA. Like, good, but not dominant. And I just, in general, I'm so weary of guys coming off these long layoffs and how things look. So I feel like Gibson Long's price was a little inflated because of the 2-step. Like, that always helps. But I was pretty tepid. Did not end up with Gibson Long anywhere.
Yeah, I kind of had him on my list and then kind of forgot and then added some lists, but it's just he threw 3 2/3 his first inning. I just don't know. Right. You're not getting any deep outings anytime soon. Like, maybe he gets it to 5 pretty quick here, but I think people see the strikeout rates in the minors. You know, he's had a lot of years where he's over 30%. That's pretty appealing, and the walk rate's never been above 10%. So you can see the K- walk pretty easily. You just kind of scan his FanGraphs page. You go up and down a little bit. And there's some good stuff there, but yeah, you're right. He's thrown 25 innings since 2023. Like, it's just I don't see him going deep into games. It's going to be tough to win. He plays on a good team, plays him score some runs. Who knows how long he sticks? But I was a little surprised too how high the bidding was and how popular he was this week.
Yep, agreed.
Anybody else you like here? Talk to me about Max McGrevy. He's a pretty big prospect here for the Cardinals. Got called up and pitched today. Sounds like the quotes from the manager were that he was not up for just 1 start. So that means he's going to stick for a little bit. He pitched 6 today against the Dodgers, 4 earned runs, 8 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. But this is someone that has been good in the minors. The strikeout rate's never huge though, so you always worry about that a little bit. If he's not striking just out in the minors, what are we going to get in the majors? But it's got a good command. Never had a walk rate over, they say 7%, something like that. How do you feel about Max McGrevy? He's about 44% rostered in the main event, pretty much unrostered in 12-teamers.
Yeah, I was also not that interested in McGrevy either, because like you can have good command in the minors, like you're living in the zone a ton, but if you live in the zone a ton in the majors, that may not have the intended result. 10% swinging strike. You mentioned kind of the lower strikeout rate. I love to look at swinging strike rate, see if there's kind of any upside there for the K rate. It was 10% in AAA this year for McGrevy as well. So I was not that interested. I don't even think I bid on McGrevy actually.
Yeah, he's at Milwaukee this week. That didn't really fire me up too much either. I just I had him on my list, but I ended up not getting him either. Last guy I want to ask you about starting pitching. Any love for Colton Gordon pitching for the Astros? They've had some injuries. He's starting right now. He's a 26-year-old lefty. Not really much of a prospect, an 8th-round pick, but someone that again has good command, as we saw just what we talked about with McGrevy, but more strikeouts than McGrevy does. He was 24% in AAA last year, about 10% swinging strike rate. Pretty decent ratios. He's 3.94, 1.22. So far in the minors this year, he was really good. 2.55, 120 whip with about over 20% K-minus walk. Pitches on a team that maybe doesn't have the offense that we're used to it without Alvarez, but still a pretty decent team. You get some wins out of him. How do you feel about Colton Gordon?
I was in on Colton Gordon, like around, I don't know, $20 range on a lot of my bids. I see he gets the Twins, and as a lefty, the Twins are not very good against lefties. So I like kind of just the weekly streaming aspect. The next start I think would line up to be in Sacramento. So I don't know if I'm going to go there in 2 weeks. I'm also just curious, like Houston's rotation, like are they going to go? Are they going to stay 6-man? We all know that kind of doesn't last, just sheer probability of 6 starting pitchers staying healthy at the same time.
Also, I want to throw Hunter Brown every 5 days for sure.
Exactly.
That dude's freaking stud.
You do not want to skip Hunter Brown. So that was one of my kind of like just thinking like what for Colton Gordon, what is that? How sticky is he in that rotation? You've also got, Ryan Gusto could be out. There was also, what's his name? Walter. Last name. I get screwed up.
Brandon Walter.
Brandon Walter. The two first name guys. Brandon Walter, tough. Chad Patrick. They screw me up. Yeah. But there was some like Gusto gets the White Sox this week. So like you're interested in that too. So I was the Houston rotation to me is actually pretty interesting what they do there, because I know they're not going to try and push McCullers. I mean that's basically why Walter got the start this weekend, is they're giving McCullers some rest. So it'll be interesting.
McCullers been really good his last like 4 starts. I know that a couple of them were short, but like they had 12 strikeouts and 7 strikeouts. He looked really good to that first. I guess it was the second outing, his second start where he didn't get out of the first inning, but he's been really good since then.
Yep.
We talk about like anybody that pitches for the Dodgers is pick upable. Were you in on Justin Robleski this week? This guy walks a lot of guys and faces San Diego the next 2 starts. Once I saw that, I kind of jumped out. I know that we like Dodgers pitchers. I know the Dodgers pitchers are usually kind of a safe haven, but I don't like the combination of lack of command plus facing San Diego twice in a row. So I actually pulled back on Robleski once I looked a little deeper at the schedule coming up.
Agreed. Don't like the walk rate history. Don't like the schedule there for Robleski. I know this isn't a this week FAAB thing, but like Emmett Sheehan is on the rehab trail, and I think. Yep. As we talked about at the top, like any healthy starting pitcher in that rotation is going to get some runs. So I've got an eye on Emmett Sheehan for, I don't know, maybe the next week or 2 whenever he comes up. But it's that rotation's tough, man. We
joked a little about the White Sox starting pitching early in the season, early in the podcast. There's been a couple comments in the chat about Davis Martin, 3.62 ERA, 1.21 WHIP so far. I'm not buying it. He's got a 50% strikeout rate. He's got an 8.8% swing strike rate. He's been pretty lucky. I'm not seeing. There's a lot of ground balls you like, but I feel with you look at like let's say his FIP's pretty good, 4.54, so not horrible, but still a run higher than the ERA. I think some rough times are coming from Davis Martin. So I've kind of been just out on that profile just because I think some regression's coming.
Yeah, I don't like the whiff rate. I don't like the ball rate for Davis Martin. I don't like the win potential. I don't like the upcoming schedule. It's at Houston versus St. Louis and then versus Arizona. So for all of the reasons mentioned above, sorry, Uncle Ted, but I'm not doing it.
I might have nightmares of 3 years ago when I think he had like 8 earned on the last.
Oh, was he on the last day of the season? Yeah,
he was the last day of the season, like two Thursday. Like that, like you're throwing anybody the last day because you need like 6 strikeouts, and he was. It was brutal. So I'm kind of out there. Spot start here there maybe on the right matchup, but I'm not someone in on. But before we jump out of here, talk relievers real quick. I saved it for last when we had a few minutes left, just because there's not much to talk about. If you need saves, it's a tough week. Were you in on anybody saves wise, stashing saves wise? Were you able to find anything to help you with saves this week?
Not really. I got excited for a couple hours when Craig Kimbrell was called up, and then subsequently, that was crazy, man. What are we doing? Didn't pitch well, but one scoreless inning, and then
what were they doing there? Like, it just seems kind of cruel to just call him up and DFA him after one out.
And like weird. Their social media accounts, like "Welcome back, Craig," with like this montage. Like, I mean, I guess they have to do that, and then
right. It's just for a guy that had been there for like so many years early in his career, just to kind of like call him up, doesn't pitch well, and you get rid. It was really a strange back and forth.
Yeah. But yeah, that Braves situation, I was
going to ask you about the Braves. Like, do you think Iglesias is going to kind of fall back into that role? Are you worried? Pierce Johnson came in for the save. It was either today, I think it was yesterday, gave up a bomb to lose the game. Was that the Matt Chapman bomb?
No, it's a Matt Chapman 2-run homer. Yep.
Yeah. Dylan Lee's really good in that bullpen, but everything you kind of read or see there is like they kind of like him in the role he's in. So I didn't know what to do here. I mean, the Braves are a good enough team. You're like, if they get a closer and it's not Iglesias, like you want a piece of that, but I couldn't really find a way to find a path to getting anybody in that bullpen.
Agreed. I mostly stayed off it because it's just kind of a hodgepodge of names there, and there's a decent chance Raisel Iglesias they kind of run that leash as long as they can just to see. I mean, Raisel Iglesias has been elite for like 10 years.
I think the leash should be pretty low. I think they're kind of, get a couple lower leverage outings, then you come right back.
Exactly. I think that's how it's going to handle. But also, I mean, Iglesias' strikeout rate it's not good. It's not good. He has not been what we think of Raisel Iglesias, but I mean, he just stayed away.
Maybe Father Time is finally there for Iglesias, but I still think it'll come back. Question to chat for you, Ryan. In a shallower league, better add Will Vest or Daniel Palencia?
That's actually very good question. I would go. I like both of them. I know that's kind of the cop-out answer. I would go Palencia just because I think he is the guy. I know Porter Hodge is working his way back. I think Ryan Presley, that ship has sailed. I think Palencia, he's pitched well in the ninth. I think the Cubs are one of the best teams in baseball. They're going to get a ton of save chances. I mean, Detroit is too. So you could say the same thing with Will Vest. I just think Will Vest is more like a 60-40 type split, whereas Palencia, if he keeps pitching well, I think Palencia is the 80% guy in Chicago, and I think that matters. So Will Vest, very good. I have some Will Vest, but I would go Palencia slightly over Vest.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I had the gun to my head, I think I'd probably go Will Vest is probably a better pitcher, but I think that
agreed.
I think I go Palencia just because the role is they're a team that's going to give him all the save ops, at least for right now, whereas Will Vest is split with Tommy Kahnle, and I just think I really like Will Vest a lot. I'd want both of them, I think, in a deeper league. But if it's either or, I think I'd have to side Palencia a little bit right now.
Yep.
Anybody else bullpen wise? The Giants are, we talked about last week how the Giants replaced Ryan Walker with Camilo Doval. Doval did have a save today. He had a blown one earlier this week, and then he kind of righted the ship today. Randy Rodriguez in that bullpen is pitching really, really well. I don't know if you've looked at his K- walk at all. The dude is pretty unbelievable. He's got 41 strikeouts and 3 walks. In 28 innings, 40% strikeout rate. That's like a Mason Miller number there. So he has a 2.9% walk rate. Kind of crazy. He had big walk numbers in the minors, and then he kind of lowered it last year with the Giants. He was under 9%, 60% swing strike rate. Like, this dude is nasty. I just think that I think Doval's pitching so well that there probably isn't a path for saves, but maybe I think he's clearly the guy when Doval's not available. It's not Walker. It's Randy Rodriguez right now.
And but that's the best strikeout minus walk of any pitcher in the majors, minimum 20 innings. And
there you go.
It's not that close, really, even. Griffin Jax is number 2, like 33%. So that's the thing with Randy Rodriguez. Like, even if you don't get saves, and I don't think you will get the saves, it's like the age-old, like, 15-teamer question. Would you rather go Randy Rodriguez for a week or roll the dice with
Davis Martin,
Justin Robleski, insert streaming pitcher here. I don't like to do that a whole lot, like over a whole season, but there certainly are weeks where you just take that 40% K rate from Randy Rodriguez. He pitches 3 times and gets you 6 strikeouts with good ratios like that. That helps.
Yeah. Someone in the chat was asking about Camilo Doval not striking out very many, but Camilo Doval's giving up runs in an outing once since April 12th. So he's not striking guys out, but every time he goes out there and throws a scoreless inning, like the Giants don't care if he throws. I mean, he's pitching that well right now that, the whole point of this is to not give up runs in real baseball. He's doing that really well so far. I know he had that one blown save, but he's pitching really well. And they were so clear about him having the job now that I think he's got a pretty good leash. But Randy Rodriguez is a really, really nasty pitcher, no doubt. I think that in a 15-teamer, I think that there's many weeks, if they have 7 games, that's one thing. There's many weeks you could use Rodriguez pretty easily over those starters you mentioned just now. Any interest in Michael Kopech? He pitched the 9th for the Dodgers today in a 4-run lead. It was kind of interesting the way they kind of built out the map of how they did it. They pitched, I think it was Yates in the 7th, Tanner Scott in the 8th, and then Kopech in the 9th, if I'm right there. I think that I thought it was kind of interesting just from a ladder usage standpoint, the way they did it.
It was. I mean, I always go back to the age old Dave Roberts is going to Dave Roberts. Like that ladder could be completely flipped tomorrow, and I would not be surprised either. So I think it's just going to be a major committee, maybe with Tanner Scott getting the majority. But yeah, I am trying to stay away from the Dodgers closing situation because you will pull your hair out.
I think that's a pretty good call. I think we've all been trying to figure out who's the right-hander that's going to split with Tanner Scott, and it's moved around so much. It was Trinan, and then he got hurt, and then it was Yates, he got hurt, and then now it's Kobe. I think that maybe you're right. It's just going to be Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts.
Yeah. Yep.
I had a question or I had a comment here about Carlos Rodon being a silent candidate, but I think the Red Sox blew that up this evening. I think we can probably skip that question because 5 earned today against the Red Sox after he staked an early lead was not an ideal start for Rodon.
Shortly after you put him in the rundown too, I think. So that's Murphy's Law of fantasy baseball.
It's Murphy's Law when Christian Campbell of all people homers.
I know.
He hadn't had a hit in like a month, and all of a sudden I threw him in the spreadsheet, and there it was. So.
He got a hit off Ryan Yarborough on Saturday, who I picked up in a bunch of leagues last week, and that backfired.
I think we were watching the game last night, or wherever it was, and he had a single to right. I'm like, oh, don't worry, Christian Campbell's up. This is an automatic out, and he had a single to right. Everybody thinks I know nothing about baseball, so it's great. Yeah,
I recall that at bat as well, unfortunately.
Last question, AJ Puck. Any interest in stashing AJ Puck at this point? He's kind of starting to come back. Justin Martinez, I think we think is back, but probably not going to be in every role every day kind of guy. I think he seems like someone that probably needs some time off, and maybe not a lot of back-to-backs for Justin Martinez. He's really nasty, really good. But any interest in an AJ Puck stash if you got some room and he's available in the league?
If you have room, but knowing my teams, I don't. So, and I don't think AJ Puck is eligible to come back until July 1st. So, maybe another week or two. But for now, no, I'm letting him go on waivers.
I'm also always hesitant to stash a guy who gets hurt so often. Like it's just It sucks to hold on to a guy and then all of a sudden it's just he can get hurt again. And we never talk about it really with stashes, but it's not easy to come back and be really good either. I mean, Spencer Strider was bad again today. Baseball is hard when you come off the injury, you haven't pitched for a year. I think everybody's like, I'll wait 4 weeks for Strider and then I'll have Spencer Strider, and you won't. And it's like, yeah, but is this really the Spencer Strider you hope for? It's been not great. And he admitted it. He's like, I haven't been good. And he probably will be by the end of the year, but you're still eating these starts. You're still starting him. It's been a rough start to the season for Strider.
Agreed. And Sandy Alcantara this year as well. And even though he wasn't available in FAAB this week, but I'm sure you and Jeff will talk about him next week. Yuri Perez is coming back. That's another name where I'm just like, we'll see. We get 2 looks at Yuri Perez, but it's another one where it's just such a long layoff. It's the track record there is not great. So.
Yeah, I mean, Strider's had 5 starts. He's 0-5. I don't even care about that. But he's gone only 5 innings. He's given up 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs, 5 earned runs. He had a 1-2 in there, but it's 7 strikeout once, but no more than 5. I mean, it's not the same guy, and I don't think we should really anticipate that it should be because it's really tough to come back after that long off.
Yep, absolutely. We are seeing that in action, even with this internal brace thing that that Spencer Strider got. That's just another kind of data point, not against it, but it's a tough road back.
Yeah, I guess he did go 6 today. It's only 3 hits and 3 walks, but still the 4 runs and 3 earned. But it's clearly not the same guy out there. But anybody else you want to talk about? Anything else on your mind? Anything that's jumped in your head that you want to talk about while we've got you here?
No, I'm just hoping for a better week for my pitchers than Jesus Luzardo had in a bunch of my leagues. So good.
What the heck were those last 2 starts? The first one was so bad, and then I think the second one might have been worse.
And widely, I don't think I've seen a blow up like that of someone who is that universally rostered 2 in a row, 20 earned runs. I hope you all have a better week than Luzardo did.
It was 20 earned runs.
And he gets, I believe he gets the Cubs this week. I think there's no way, like the Cubs crush lefties. I think there's no way you can throw Luzardo out there right now unless you're just desperate.
He had 20 strikeouts 2 starts before that. And then he gave 20 runs the next 2 starts. Like he had 7 innings, 10 Ks, 6 innings, 10 Ks, had not given up more than 3 runs all year long in a start. And then he goes 9, and I'm looking at the counting here. He'd given up 15 runs all year and then gave up 12 and then 8. Like I don't know it's crazy when that happens. It's just, and back-to-back starts. It's brutal. You're starting him. Like you started for both those starts. Maybe not this week, but everybody started him for those 2 starts for sure.
Even the second one, I think, even though you write off the 12 earned, it's just a bad day at the office. But 2 in a row. And then you wonder, who knows? You tack on the injury history with Luzardo there. It's, I don't know. Concern. I
mean, it's funny that 10 days ago he looked like one of the better pitchers in the National League and one of the better draft picks, and all of a sudden, that goes away pretty fast.
Yeah, ERA went from I think like 2.15, something like that, to now it's in the mid 4s after 2.
You're right. It's 4.46, 1.44. Like all of a sudden you throw them all starts. It's not a pitcher you want. It's like amazing how fast that happens.
Yep.
So cool. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining. Always really fun to talk baseball. You're one of my favorite people that works in this wild little industry of ours. But before we jump out of here, if somebody was not listening at the beginning, where can people find you for your work online, articles, stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again, Scott. This was a blast. Always good to talk. I know you're wearing that U.S. Open shirt, so it's U.S. Open week. I'm stoked for that.
Yeah. We're at Oakmont, right? That rough looks ridiculous.
There's rough. There's ditches on the side of fairways. There's apparently the fastest greens in the world. So we will see that.
Yeah, I actually got invited out there and I couldn't make it, so I'm a little boned by it.
Did you?
It was really fun to go to, but I saw a video of Bryson dropping a ball in the rough, and he's dropped it from 3 feet up, and you couldn't see the ball. I don't know how that works. These guys still score well, but I think pars are gonna be pretty good this week.
Pars are going to be pretty good. Always love the carnage that is the U.S. Open, and then Father's Day on Sunday for it. That's awesome. It's a great day. So, but no, appreciate you having me on. You can find my work at Twitter at Ryan BHQ, written work at Baseball HQ, podcast at Bubba and the Bloom. So check us out there.
Beautiful. So I appreciate you jumping on. Some of the chat asked if Jordan Westberg was dropped. Should I add him? Yes, you should add him. He's back on Tuesday, second and third base eligible, and someone I really like as a hitter. So yes, last tip there. I would definitely add Jordan Westberg wherever league you're in there. But Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I know everybody's busy. Everybody's got stuff going on weekends, especially Sundays are really tough. So I really appreciate you jumping in. Bubba and the Bloom podcast, really good. By the way, I just was sitting here, got an email, the daily Bubba and the Bloom notes update. It's been really good. Like when I get really busy, I get that email at 10 o'clock at night, read through, find out what happened in the game. It's been really valuable. So that's you guys. Is that through your guys' Patreon, right?
That is through our Patreon. Bubba is if I didn't actually meet him in person, was good friends with him in person, I would think he's like a machine, because he does every single day during the week, all season, churns out those daily notes.
It's not like 3 or 4 notes. It's like 18 to 20 notes. It's really good. So yeah, the Bubba the Blue Patreon is really good too. I'm a member over there too. So I get the email, so I can't be lying about that. I get the email. So it's really good. So your guys' work is really good. I appreciate you jumping on. Always fun to chat with you too. And I hope everybody's doing well there. And hope you have a good week. Hope everybody else has a good week. Hope everybody's a good fantasy week. We'll be back at you next Sunday night. I don't know who's joining us next Sunday night yet, but we'll have another special guest, and we'll get that worked out. But Ryan, thanks again for joining. I hope all is well. I hope everybody take care and have a good one.